Great. And Lisa, can you hear me okay?
I can.
Okay, wonderful. So I'm going to get this going and then, I guess I need to come out of the PowerPoint to share. Um, so I'm going to share my screen. All right. Sorry, everyone. I'm technically savvy, I promised. Okay, so is screen showing?
Yeah, we see your PowerPoint.
Wonderful. All right. Well, thank you, Lisa, and the whole Colorado Alliance for Environmental Education. It is a true honor to be speaking with you today, and I'm just so excited to share some of our resources that we have for you to get ready for Earth Day 2020, which will be a big anniversary for us. And so just a little bit about what we're going to do and talk about today. I wanted to give you some historical background on Earth Day, where we came from and why do we do what we do, some of our current initiatives, and then looking forward to 2020. And we also have a whole slew and menu of resources that I think would be beneficial and helpful for you as educators if you're in the non-formal arena or in the classroom. And then if time allows and if people are up for it, any kind of discussion or sharing that we'd like to have about what Colorado currently does for Earth Day and how we can help you grow that over the next year. So just, I guess we don't need to do a full introduction. So thank you, Lisa, for that lovely introduction. But like she said, I just joined Earth Day Network in January of 2018. So I've got 2 Earth Days underneath my belt now. But I do have a pretty extensive background in environmental education. I'm very familiar with your affiliate. Turns out I've got a long history with Lisa and also went to school and did my master's degree with Katie Maven. So I have a big place in my heart for the Colorado Alliance. I was on the board of the Florida Alliance, LEAF, and on the North Carolina Alliance, EENC, and haven't gotten onto the board yet, but working with my new DC affiliate here in DC. So have a pretty extensive background. My PhD at University of Florida was with Martha Monroe, which is probably a common name in our field. So I had a great pleasure of working with her and learning under her. And my doctoral work, while it focused on the systems thinking and climate change education, also worked with Project Learning Tree in developing the Southeastern Forest and Climate Change module, which, while Southeast is in the title, if you haven't had a chance, I highly encourage you to check that out. A lot of our activities are completely applicable nationwide, and we've even had it adapted worldwide. So just a little pitch for that, since you all love PLT so much. But not to delay anymore, getting into everything, and I guess we won't be entirely interactive today, but the question I usually pose here is, what year was the first Earth Day? And feel free to use some context clues from these photos. But many of you probably already know that the first Earth Day was in 1970. And the idea came from Senator Gaylord Nelson from Wisconsin, who had been really aware of some of the environmental issues that we were facing in the late 60s. The Cuyahoga River in Ohio being on fire. He went out to physically witness the Santa Barbara oil spill. We knew the smog in some cities and major urban areas was just completely blinding in some spots. It was so thick and unhealthy. So a lot of the environmental issues in the late 60s were really visible and in your face, and people were just not okay with that, and they really wanted to take action. And he saw a lot of electricity in the college age students of, the civil rights movement and the anti-war movement in the late 60s, and he wanted to use that electricity and focus it on environmental issues as well. So for the first Earth Day, he hired a group of college organizers, and one of them is in this picture you can see here on the phone is Dennis Hayes, who was the main coordinator for the first Earth Day. And Dennis is still highly involved with Earth Day. He's our board chair emeritus and is a really great role model and source of inspiration for all that we do. But Dennis and his small team of college organizers, they got people together. As you can see, he literally called people. They sent things in the mail, and they got 20 million Americans to come to the streets that first Earth Day out of nothing, out of thin air. They made this movement. And it's really been credited for a lot of the major environmental initiatives in the United States and the modern environmental movement. The formation of the EPA, the landmark legislation like the Clean Air Act, Clean Water Act, Endangered Species Act, all of that legislation that really pushed through and had some more strict regulations following the formation of the EPA, and people demanding a better future and a better planet for themselves. So since then, we've celebrated Earth Day on April 22nd. And the real premise of the first Earth Day was calling it a Teachin, the first environmental Teachin. And so the Teachin is really a classic model of gathering people to not just have a one-way dialogue about the environment, but making it a two-way conversation, hearing from community experts and community leaders, content experts about different topics, this being mainly the environment, but the community being just as involved in the conversation, expressing their concerns and what they would like to take action on. And then through a teach-in, there's always a very clear call to action. So what do we do next? And clearly the calls to action worked for the first Earth Day and all the regulations that were developed and how the government really stepped up to respond to its citizens about how we needed and demanded a better environment and better control of our environmental resources. And since then, we've been plowing ahead and growing bigger and bigger each year. In 1990, they brought Dennis Hayes back, and so we like to show beautiful, embarrassing pictures of Dennis here, coming back in 1990 to make it a more global initiative. So there was signs that the entire world was interested in the concept of Earth Day and the celebration of Earth Day, and so 1990 is when we officially went global and instantly had over 200 million people in 141 countries involved. The major focus was on recycling, so I'm sure everyone from that time remembers those great ABC and PBS specials with Robin Williams and Billy Crystal and everyone talking about recycling, and that was kind of really the topic area. And it paved the way for the UN Summit or the Earth Summit in Rio in 1992, that this is a global topic. People were really concerned about the environment and they wanted to talk about it on a global level, especially seeing how our globalization was ramping up at an incredible speed in the 1990s. And so today, Earth Day is celebrated from our best research. I think we found 194 countries that acknowledge Earth Day in some way, with over 1 billion people taking place in Earth Day each year. We do that through a series of about 50,000 partners across the world. Earth Day Network is a fairly small nonprofit organization based in Washington, D.C. We're probably 15 full-time staff. So we really get this global effort through our partners on the ground across the world. Earth Day is celebrated in all different shapes and forms. Sometimes it also comes under a different name. But the concept is really the same, of increasing environmental literacy, coming together as a community to address environmental issues and celebrate our successes. Earth Day Network was actually the coordinator for the first March for Science in 2017, which, if you remember, took place on Earth Day. And then since then has become such a huge movement, is its own day now in its own organization. But it really started on Earth Day for a reason, to draw attention to, again, topics that people were concerned about and wanted to talk more about. So this year for Earth Day, and for the past couple of years, we've had a more content theme topic that we would revolve all of our resources around. So I hope you saw some information about Earth Day 2019 and our theme of Protect Our Species. So it took a strong focus on biodiversity and what we could do to protect our species both locally and globally. And so there was really this strong emphasis on having both ends of the spectrum. We want people to be aware of global mass extinction happening around the world, from some charismatic megafauna in Africa to plants in the Amazon, but also equally stressing the importance of people's local ecosystems. What species exist in your backyard? What makes your ecosystem unique? And really helping people develop that care ethic to understand that intrinsic value that all species have, and the interdependence that exists between all species, whether they're cute and cuddly and fuzzy or just very important ecologically. So we have a whole slew of resources, again, on our website. We primarily create what we call toolkits, which are different ways to get organized and have ideas of how to come together as a community or a school or a faith-based institution to take action on some of these issues. So we have lots of content in there for our toolkits, but then also just ideas for things that you can do as a group in any way. So I would highly encourage you to check out in the education resources. We've got several education resources. Everything's completely free to download and use. There's no login, there's no account creation. Anyone can use our resources, and we really encourage you to do so. So the next piece of that is Within Earth Day, we have what we call Climate Education Week, and I'm sure many of you are familiar with Environmental Education Week, which is through NEAF and the week following Earth Day. Earth Day Network runs Climate Education Week, which is the week leading up to Earth Day. And so we create this toolkit that has lesson plans, activities, information about STEM careers, information about youth making a difference in this topic area, information about diverse people in diverse careers around the world making a difference for biodiversity. So just a lot of resources, and hopefully your one-stop shop for high quality educational resources around biodiversity. I'll also say that last year our theme was End Plastic Pollution, and that toolkit is still online as well. And again, just a whole slew of resources around these topic areas. The other piece I'll say about this is that while Climate Education Week is the week leading up to Earth Day, this is in no way restrictive to only using this 1 week in April. So please take a look at this toolkit. It's great to use all year round, depending on your topics, if you're in the non-formal or formal arenas. And let us know what you think. We're really trying to use some feedback, and we like to feature different educators and students on our website and our social media, on our blogs. So if you use our toolkit, or you like when activities or your students do something not even through our toolkit, but just something around biodiversity, we really love to feature those success stories, and we have a pretty major platform to do so. So we love getting stories from teachers and educators and students about what this means to them and what they're doing, because we really believe in showcasing those great examples, which makes it more likely that other teachers and other educators will take on these ideas and try it with their students and see how it goes. So now the big thing that we wanted to talk about today was Earth Day 2020. And so if you did some math from our first Earth Day in 1970, next year will be the 50th anniversary of the first Earth Day. And this is just a huge opportunity to do something big. And for that, we've been trying to come up with different avenues for engagement for everyone to get involved in Earth Day 2020. And so we've been using this acronym of SAVE, S-A-V-E, for the 4 main avenues that people can get involved. And just to break this down bit by bit, the first one, science, is for the Earth Challenge 2020, which will be our major citizen science initiative. And for this program, we're working and partnering with the Wilson Center here in DC, which is under the Smithsonian, and the State Department. So this is going to be a huge global initiative. We are working through hackathons to develop a new application, a phone application, and a website to help not only be a portal where you can submit citizen science data, but also see other platforms for citizen science. We don't want to reinvent any wheels. There's already many insanely successful citizen science programs. So we kind of want to compile everything and be a resource for citizen science. But we also want to take things a few steps further of, we don't want to be the submission of the data point to be the last point of contact or the end of the journey for these scientists. We want them to really interact with that data, understand what it means, what does that data tell you, and what can we do next. So if we can compile FrogWatch data and eBird data and iNaturalist data, what does that all together tell us about our local ecosystem and how things are going? Or through our phones and different monitoring equipment, can we find out air quality and water quality? Once you get that number, what does that mean? Is that good? Is that bad? Should we be concerned? Who should I talk to about that? What can I do to resolve this or make it better? And so this app and website is going to be extremely sophisticated, well beyond my understanding of how this will all function, but we've got some pretty impressive partners working with us on this on the tech side to really make a fancy, sophisticated, interactive resource. And so we are in the development phase right now, again, through those hackathons. We'll be going to there's a festival in France just after the Cannes Film Festival. There's an innovation festival, so we'll be there at that event, just again with a whole group of people trying to be really innovative and push the limits of what citizen science can be and do and how does it look. Making sure all the data is really visual and interactive, of not just spreadsheets of quantitative numbers and information, but what does that data mean? How can we use infographics and graphs and images to really understand what the data is telling us? And lots of pop-ups of, okay, so that's your air quality reading. well, this is what your legal limit is, and this is your local environmental regulation agency, and here's her contact information, and here's what you can do about it. Come to a Teachin to learn more about what you can do about local air quality. So we're really going to have a pretty advanced initiative for Earth Challenge 2020. So again, development is happening right now, and resources are being developed right now. And then we're looking to a January launch for that resource to be available for everybody. The A for action is really all of the quintessential Earth Day events that happen all year, every year across the world. We will be having a very large event here in Washington, D.C. on the Mall, and that will take place the Saturday following Earth Day, so I believe that's the 25th. Earth Day this year falls on a Wednesday, April 22nd, and so while I've been reading this book that's really interesting about the first Earth Day, Senator Nelson and Dennis Hayes chose a Wednesday for the first Earth Day because, again, they were targeting college students. So Wednesday was the highest class attendance day. And so they actually purposefully chose Earth Day on a Wednesday. So it's kind of meaningful that it's on Earth Day, a Wednesday again. But then a lot of the events will be happening on the weekends on either side of Earth Day, and then our main event happening on the Saturday following Earth Day. But with this action piece, we also just want to help combine efforts. If individual community NGO is working on something, or a school is working on something, or a local business is working on something, how can we help you connect those dots and all work together on a bigger event? And also the A has been kind of morphing into potentially an art category instead of just action. We have a program called Artists for the Earth, and I'm happy to share that website with everybody, of how are we using different forms, all forms of art, to communicate, educate, talk about the environment, not only talking about our concerns about the environment, but also our hope about the environment, and how can we use art in different mediums to really reach a huge diverse audience in different ways, from just giving people scientific data and a more doom and gloom approach, but how can we use art to inspire and create and talk more about these issues. The V stands for volunteer, and that is going to be our Great Global Cleanup. And again, the cleanup is kind of, the go-to event for Earth Day events. Again, with everything, we're taking it a few steps further, and it's not just a cleanup event, because nothing is more disheartening to a volunteer who spends a whole day cleaning up litter just to drive by a week or two later and have it look like they were never there. So we're going to be collecting data while we're on these cleanups, coordinating cleanups around the world, major cleanups in major cities and capital cities. But what kind of litter are we finding? Where is it coming from? Is it, curbside littering? Is it coming down a water source? Is it blowing away from a schoolyard or a park that doesn't have enough trash and recycling bins? What's the source of this litter, and how can we prevent it from coming back? I think there's a ever so cheesy hope and wish for the Great Global Cleanup to be the last cleanup. How can we find this litter, find its sources, and eliminate it from coming back? And then the E for education is, again, going back to our roots and going to the global Teachin model of how can we get millions of students worldwide to host Teachins, participate in Teachins, learn from Teachins, take action after Teachins, and then also how are all these pieces connected? So do you participate in a citizen science Earth Challenge, and then that informs your Teachin and what you want to talk about with your community? Or do you have a Teachin and then your call to action is a Great Global Cleanup? All of these pieces can be done together. All of them can be done independently as well. With the past couple of years having these more content-based themes like plastics and biodiversity, we've been prepping everyone. We want to get people aware of these issues and what's going on. For 2020, we really don't want to dictate the theme and direct specific actions for what communities should do. We really want communities to self-identify what are the issues that are important to you, how do you address them, and how can we help you do so? So all of our resources that we're going to be developing are really just meant to help you along the way, help you organize together, help you have some content, help you with suggestions of things that you can do, and really just get people ready and call to actions. Ultimately, though, I think if we had to answer the question, climate action is what we're going to be talking about for Earth Day 2020. So all of these pieces, no matter if you're working on water quality, air quality, biodiversity, plastic pollution, all of these are meant to add up to strong climate action. The other piece that I haven't mentioned yet is we've got a couple of other campaigns and avenues to get involved. I think, so one campaign we just launched last Monday is called Food Prints for the Future. And so it's talking about the connections between our diet and climate change. So not just what is our carbon footprint, but what is our land footprint and what is our water footprint for the different choices and foods that we eat. And how can we decrease that? This is no way meant to be a critical campaign or a shaming campaign about people's food choices. It's just meant to be an educational and inspiring campaign about how can we increase plant-based options in our diet to help the environment in multiple ways that maybe we don't understand yet. And how can we help break some of those misconceptions about a plant-based diet of getting enough protein and doing it healthy and cost and access and recipes that are actually flavorful and tasty. So we have a whole website within our website about food prints for the future and what we can do to take actions on the foods that we eat. And then we also have a new initiative that was just launched this past Earth Day called Vote Earth. And this is going to be strongly connected to the Teachins and the higher education communities. But how do we not only increase voter registration and also presence at the polls, not just registration, but going to show up to vote. But on the other side of that coin is, how do we ensure that all candidates and all elected officials have the environment as a major priority in their campaign? Earth Day Network is a 501c3, so we are nonpartisan, and Vote Earth is a very nonpartisan initiative. We want to make sure that all candidates across all parties and across all countries, again, we're a global initiative. How do we have the discussion? How do we ask these questions of our candidates and our elected officials? How do we make sure that the environment is a priority for everyone? Climate change and climate policy needs to be included in every single debate. We need to let the elected officials know that the environment is a priority for us, just like we did in 1970, and it needs to be a priority for them as well. So the Vote Earth initiative is going to be coming out mainly to college campuses, but will be in other avenues as well, of just a way to have some professional developments for voters of, what are those tough questions that we need to be asking? What are policies we want our candidates to support? And really looking globally about all the elections that are coming up. The US will be in primary season in April 2020, but we're really looking at elections around the world. We were a little disappointed of what happened in Australia recently, but there's time and opportunities to get better. India and the EU have elections coming up and have just passed, so we're really looking for global efforts to make sure that the environment is a key piece of all elections coming up. And as we always say, it's not just a day, it's a movement. So all of these pieces I've been mentioning, it's not meant to be restrictive to Earth Day or Earth Week or even Earth Month. So depending on your resources, your programs, what you do with your audiences, these pieces can take place at any point in 2020. If they're ready, they can take place in 2019. They will go far beyond 2020 as well, is the point. So feel free to, the other piece I'll show you, and I'll go through this really quickly, is I wanted to share you our website and give you a little bit more idea of what's on there. But use it whenever you can, whenever is most appropriate for your audiences. We just want people to get involved and provide them ways to do so in an easy way. So here's my email address, so please contact me with any questions. Again, our website is really easy. It's just earthday.org. We have a newsletter on our website that you can subscribe to get more information, but we also have a specific educator newsletter where I give resources that are specific to environmental educators around the world. So feel free to sign up for our general newsletter and our educator newsletter. The other avenue that we have to get involved is our Billion Acts of Green program. This was a campaign that was launched in 2011 and quickly reached the 1 billion acts of green point. Now we're at just over 2.6 billion, and I believe we're trying to get to 3.5 for Earth Day 2020. So an act of green is anything from taking a shorter shower in the morning to picking up some litter on your way to work, or organizing a teach-in, or participating in Earth Challenge. An act of green is anything that you do to help make a difference every day. So there's just going to be a great way to interact with that on our website and see how we can demonstrate that our individual actions and our collective actions add up to be a really big deal and really, really important. And then there's always the social media plug. So we are on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn. So you feel free to follow us on any of those platforms to get more information. Feel free to share through CAEE or your local organizations we just try to put out a lot of resources and information. So please feel free to share, retweet, share, and get that information out to your audiences. And then from there, I just thought I would pull up our website really quick. This one. And so again, really simple. earthday.org is our homepage. Right now, that Food Prints for the Future campaign that just launched on Monday is on the front piece of our website. So there's a great video here about what Food Prints is and how you can be involved. You can see the clock is ticking, no pressure, Tracy, on our countdown for the 50th anniversary. So we've got 47 weeks to get ready and get active and get mobilized. And then as you scroll down, there's just different ways, all our different campaigns to see what we do and how to get involved with us. And then the other tab I have open is our education page. And so this is the one from our 2019 resources where you can see all the different resources that you can use with your students. That Climate Education Week toolkit is here. And then Mobilize You is our higher education program. So we have our student toolkit this year was really how do students on campuses get engaged with this topic? When you're living in the dorm or in a small off-campus apartment, what kind of agency do students have to manage biodiversity on their campus or impact choices in their dining hall or work with their campus around sustainability? So a lot of feedback from our interns went into this of they needed more information of what to do and how to do it. So that toolkit's been really successful this year of what they can do. And then the Teachin toolkit is really generic, anyone, how to host a Teachin on any kind of campus and get involved. Here's where you can sign up for the educator-specific newsletter. And again, like I was saying, we're happy to share your story to a global platform and let people know all the great work that's going on in Colorado. Colorado really is a role model nationwide and worldwide for pushing environmental education and doing it well and doing it successfully at a really high level. So we are happy to share that story and let people know all the great work that you're doing. So with that, I will try to calm down and talk a little slower, but happy to answer any questions, happy to talk more about any of the specific programs, and see how can we better help Colorado and all that you do for environmental education. And yeah, I will hold it there. Are there any questions?
I don't see any yet, but feel free to chat them in. You can also unmute yourself if you want to talk live with Tracey. Since we're a small group, that would completely be fine if you have a question you'd like to pose for her.
Well, it sounded like an exciting question, but I think it was just a phone. Yeah, so again, everyth's on, I stopped sharing, but just earthday.org. Feel free to email me. I guess I can pull my email up again. And happy to talk offline with anybody and share resources or customize resources. And just let me know if there's anything we can do to help support all the great work that Colorado already does. And we look forward to hearing from you and seeing how we can make Earth Day 2020 the biggest yet.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Tracey. I know I learned a lot, and I'm excited to get on your website and check out some of these resources because I didn't even know they were available. So,
oh, great. Yes, please use all the resources.
Yes. So we're happy to send them in our follow-up email to people as well. But thanks for your time and sharing all this great and exciting information with us. And thanks to all the participants also for spending your time with us this afternoon. And look for that follow-up email from me in the next couple of days. And reach out to Tracey if you have any other questions. So, thanks so much. And everyone have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, everyone.